Hi, everybody. Welcome to the guide to Retinue. I'm going to try not to talk too much because I hate that. I want to use the time to answer questions and have people speak who have stories in their experiences for Retinue. So, Retinue can also be called entourage, the team. For those who are new, I'm going to describe some things that are pretty obvious for those who aren't, but I call it a crew, which consists of, at the head would be the head of the retinue. In Qaid here, we call it Chamberlain, or the herald as well are up there. And underneath are little groups that are in charge of something specific. And in each group, someone leads them. So for instance, we have group of ladies in waiting, we have chief lady in waiting. We have the guards, we have the captain of the guards. We have a group specifically there to make costumes and stuff. You will also see people like cooks, because everybody's going to be too busy doing retinuing and going to meetings and stuff to deal with that. There'll be cooks, musicians to fill time at court, mainly. You'll have some camp coordinator or camp master for the camping events. Have people who take care of kids. If the people that you are serving have kids, it's helpful to have someone who's there to take care of, look after them while they're busy with the other stuff. But also, while I'm here, they might have animals. And I don't mean dogs and cats. I mean a 30-year Queen Sinead brought her sheep. So some of us looked after them. Pages. I think that's all the people I can think of, really. Oh, secretary, the person who writes down all the business that's going on in court, just to make sure we know who's getting what, and if there's presents being exchanged, and we do all that, all sorts of stuff. Okay, there are two locations where retinue duties happen. And one is court, and that's, if you've been to court, you know what it's about. If you haven't, I basically call it, it's like theater. I'll explain obviously later. And the other location is what I call the field. It's tournament areas, war, merchants row, where you're outside or walking around and or following them to the bathroom. That's also an important thing, but I'll talk about that more specifically there. Duties. Your first duty, by the way, I'm not going through all of the article that's in the TI because that would take too long. But the first thing that I put in that article is your first duty is to serve those who are serving, because they're going to be very busy going to meetings, dealing with stuff, let's put it that way. And so you're the person who, let's say they arrive at an event and they have a meeting to go to in a half hour. Hey, if you go and you help them unload stuff, set up the pavilion, hopefully the pavilion was set up a day before or earlier. Somebody got there in the morning. But to help them with all that needs to be taken care of so that they could get dressed and get out of there and go to that meeting. That's your first duty. Other things are to attend them at court and everywhere else, but also to attend to their comfort. Keep them from the sun, so umbrella, fan, food and drink. Use yourself as a gauge. If you're hungry and thirsty, that means they might be hungry and thirsty. So if it's court, keep a table nearby with those things. And also, while I'm here, when you find out you're in retinue, it might be a good idea to speak to some of your friends and see if they can take care of some of those major events you're going to go to, and they could be your retinue, if you will. They will be the ones who will take care of lunch and getting you things for water or whatever. So before I forget something like that, that's very important because you're going to be very busy when you're retinue. Okay, so other things at, well, actually it would happen after court. Many, and it's not just the ladies in waiting who do this, but many people, especially if those who aren't able to stand up for too long attending them at court, you could sit down and write on the thank you notes some, message of gratitude, and they'll sign it. Or if you're an artist, you could contribute to drawing something beautiful on those cards, or bead some award necklaces. And speaking of award necklaces and court, it's a good idea to prepare for court about 2 hours, at the least 1 hour, depending on how long that court is going to be, how much business there is. And usually the head of the retinue will coordinate with the herald to see the items of business, the orders of stuff that's going to happen. And behind the at court, behind them will be some tables where you can set in order the necklaces, the awards, what's coming up next. And the same thing with the scribe. You work with the scribe to stack up in order the scrolls so that you don't take up the time of court and everybody's looking at you instead of them while you're untangling awards. So court, for those who are new, court is basically theater, in that I'm using that just to relate to what you are familiar with. Court paraphernalia includes the thrones, kneeling pillow or pillows, banners, the tables of for different functions, all sorts of other things that need to be there to help court go along. And the important thing about that as retinue is you are to be invisible. So don't wear clothes that make noise, because that takes away the attention from either them or the attention from the person who's getting an award. So wear comfortable clothes, because you're going to be doing a lot of running around and stuff. I think on the field location, the most important duty, I think, is the guards, because while everybody else is away from camp doing whatever they're doing to attend them, who's going to be looking after all our possessions there? So it's important to have a skeleton group of people there keeping an eye on possessions, because yeah, it happens. The second most important, well, actually equally the most important thing, other than to serve them so that they could do their service, is to be discreet. Anything you see or hear in retinue stays within the retinue and not beyond that. And that could be a good thing. It could be somebody who you know who's going to get an award, or it could be other stuff. Then we have, I think it's important that you know that you don't have to do everything just because you signed up for it, because the more people you have, the more shifts you can do, like night shift, day shift schedules, which the head of the retinue is in charge of doing. But you will be able to stagger that so that if you don't have to be totally committed to everything and you burn out and all that. But I think that's enough, really. Normally, if this was an actual physical class, we would do a little mock court so that people get the feel of what it's like. So we'll have people sitting and taking the role of their majesties, and people could be ladies in waiting and herald and all that. But we can't do that here. So let's begin with how do people know that you're a retinue? Usually there's like a uniform or pieces of fabric that will show others that you are on duty. And what okay, some I keep saying their majesties, but it could be baron and baroness, or prince and princess, or prince and prince, whoever you're serving. Some of them will ask the retinue to wear the same culture as theirs. So if they're Russian, then the whole retinue makes clothes, Russian clothes. Others don't ask for that, only to stick to the same, some color combination. So I'm going to show you what I'm wearing was during Born and Shenanigans, and they just asked for green and black. So I'm wearing the green part, and I show you, and I added this armband just to add the accent to my persona, Middle Eastern persona.
Natasha says she still has hers as well.
Hmm?
Natasha says that she still has hers as well.
Yeah, and I have the black, it goes with, it's green with black tabard. And just like another piece of regalia, retinue regalia that I have, it's in storage because I figured I was never going to need to use it again. So anyway, so this one, it's not a retinue thing, it's a populous badge of Glumer, my home barony. But you could have something like this, a favor that has their insignia. Or you'll have something like, this is from Kaid. It's a baldric, or it could be an armband. It would have the emblem of the consort. And this was David and Agrippa. It's the same gender reign. But this is the most common, is the baldrics. I've also seen bags, but not in Kaid. I've seen it a lot in Ontario, and I think it's the most practical kind that you could have, because it's these bags you wear across your shoulder, and inside you could have your survival kit, like a fan, water bottle, sunscreen, notebook. This is a notebook. Not just ladies in waiting, everybody should have a little notebook, because people give them gifts not just at court, but out somewhere else and far away from the official secretary. So this is a good idea to have. So because later they're going to write thank you notes.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So when you say clothing that makes noise, is that more in regards to clothing that is too visually eye-catching, or more towards clothing that literally makes noise?
No, just noise, like bells, coins, things that jingle, basically, things that make noise. No, wear just what if the thing that's comfortable, because even if it's overcast and it's cool, because of the, they might want something way back in camp and you have to rush back there. There's going to be stuff that is going to keep you, you're going to get warm. So even if it's something like loud pink, go for it. It's fine. It's just the noise itself. I have these braids, and I have little bells that hang from them, little tassels with bells. And that's how I know that I added that in my advice, because I'd have to sometimes just put my hand and keep it from moving, in the movement of walking or something. Yeah.
I found that sometimes as a Norse persona, your beads can be difficult too, because your beads, even if they don't have bells and stuff, can make noise. I'm not saying to take off your beads, but just make sure you don't have an excessive amount of them on, because they can get caught on things too, especially
also there's a danger with that and other kind of necklaces. I found this out. You're like bending over to get something, and there's a chair maybe nearby, and it'll get caught on the arm, and boom, like it will, cut your necklace or whatever. I found that out. So just be aware. It's going to be a different thing that you normally are used to, things you don't have to think about, like moving with bells on, or necklaces that get caught on chair arms and things like that. It's just stuff you never have to think about, but you're going to be moving a lot. You're going to be anyway, just be aware. Just be aware of that. So, okay, so the last item of regalia, we're going to start with the first picture, which during Dagmar and Thorns, we had patches of oak leaves that was Dagmar's symbol. And that is what denoted, I don't know if that's the right word. It showed that, okay, somebody who's wearing that means they're on retinue. And while I'm here, just let your people know that, hey, I know who that is. Just let people know, your friends, when you're on retinue, that if they see you wearing the retinue regalia, that means you're on duty. So if they need to talk to you, they can talk to you later. So, okay, so the first one on the left, that's showing me with my oak leaf. And that's Baron Cedric, and it looks like he has something on his cloak as well. And the cover of this class, the cover photo, and over here shows I was their advisor on this retinue stint, but I also did lady in waiting stuff, which Dagmar didn't like because you're a lone role. But I'm someone who, if there's needs, some job needs to be done, and I can do it. So I actually did duty as a guard on court. The one on the right is Unharad. This is Mayfair in the Shire of Everclear. And behind her are retinue members, Baroness Gwendolyn, who was the first Baroness of Blumere. Yay! And there is Sturgar the Smiling, Squire to Sir Richard, the late but wonderful Sturgar as guard. Next to Unharad is Countess Adara and her husband. And behind her husband is one of the pages, who's now grown up. Next. So there are these two pictures show kind of like what court looks like and some of the people that would be behind it. The one on the left is Thorn and Unharad's reign, and the person in the middle is the herald, and people behind are guards and ladies in waiting. But you can't really see them. There'll be other pictures that will show that. But the ladies in waiting should always be on each side, the way this lady with the white veil is. The person in the middle is the herald. The person next to or behind should be maybe the chief lady in waiting, because when I was chief lady in waiting for the Baroness Sansia, I would periodically sort of peek over and see ahead of time what the next businesses are going to be, and that way I could signal with my hands somehow just to the retinue member closest to the award table, hey, the next thing we need is the crystal, so get that ready. And yeah, that's Václav in the middle during the first court of the Baron and Baroness of Blumere, and there is Beric and Lau, King and Queen of Antir. But you see already there's banners, and it's a good idea to know who sits where. In Antir, you have the lion with the wreaths for the king and the wreath for the queen, and that way you know the banner behind the queen, where to set up the banners. But there will be other pictures to show you other things that you need to see. The one on the left was an optional, but since it's up here, right? This is me presenting.
I have to say, I personally put it in because I love the pillow, so that's why I added
Thank
it.
you. This is a kneeling pillow. I'm presenting it to the Shire of Everclear. But while we're here, you could see it looks like he's not king yet, Prince Thorn. Behind him, of course, our banner. And Tim the Herald. Next to Tim is a Shire member, Caitlin Attua. And next to her, or behind me, was Seneschal Michelle. And the picture on the right comes from the Kingdom of the West, from the Principality of Sinagua. I went down to see the step up of Dagmar, but this is the step down of Dagmar, who later became Queen of Antir 2 times, and Obadiah there. But I chose this picture because of the way the retinue is placed and because of the wood paneling, it's just so beautiful. So I just wanted to keep showing pictures of the different ways retinue is placed because of either there's too many people or too little people or much space or too little space. So like I said,
So there's a question. Is there an order of who stands where with the retinue, within the
yeah,
retinue?
yeah, like I said, in the middle, you have between the thrones is herald. On each side of the, if you go back, um, one, yeah, yeah, and you see the lady with the white veil, that's a lady in waiting. And on the other side of Thorn, there should be a lady in waiting, just to help if they need something passed to them or drink. You fill a glass of water and you can pass it to them more easily. Behind the herald should be maybe the chief in waiting, but she doesn't need to be there the whole time, but just enough to have the court run smoothly. You will see behind there, it looks like there's some people who are guards by there because it looks like they're wearing baldricks, baldricks. But you will also have guards. There will be guards in the front of them as well, and guards halfway at court to help escort people who are called at court. There will also be champions next to where the ladies in waiting are. There will be ladies in waiting way in the back as well, where all the tables and organization stuff are, waiting for their time to do their duty, you know, when the shift changes. But next to the ladies in waiting up front back there would be the champions. And it could be 3 people, it could be 5 people. It depends on how many championship type things you have. That's basically it, the main people there. Okay, next. And next again. So this is preparation for court. The one on the left is Kaid. When I was doing some retinue stuff, we're organizing largesse stuff, and I think it's like the same thing on the right. That's in Antir. That's Baroness Bridget and Imaway and Anhard, the redheaded Anhard. All these people were on Thorn and Dagmar's retinue, and they're organizing the different things. Notice how Bridget is looking at over a list of stuff just to see in what order things need to be set up on the table, so it's easier to just pick it up when it's time.
So Natasha brought up, and it's a good thing to talk about. Ontario now has the court coordinators.
Right.
Not,
Yeah.
not usually seen, but are at the awards table in general.
Yeah, you have also, it used to be the herald who did that, but yeah, now you have court, and it's usually someone who is a herald type because they know these things. So yeah, that's what, there's several tables behind the actual court thing, behind the throne stuff. Down here in Kaid, they come with the sort of custom of having setting up a pavilion behind the royal pavilion with tables and many chairs for where the retinue can sit and wait for their time for shift, or to help with whenever they get presents and things, to sort of organize where they should be placed. And just
That's a lovely idea.
yeah,
That's a
court
lovely
business.
idea.
Yeah, I thought I would, because I remember we didn't have that as much. And this way over here, I noticed that right away, that you can almost have everybody there if they want to. And they could just, the guards and the ladies in waiting, everybody could be just, and if you're too tired to stand up, you can just go back and sit somewhere there nearby. And another person I didn't mention is photographers. Sometimes they have somebody officially there just to take pictures of everything during their reign. So that could be another court retinue person. Next, please. Another duty is to help them get dressed. These are pictures. One on the left is Constance helping Dagmar get ready. And the one on the right is the older one. It's just Anastasia helping Anhard. And actually, that's not even a picture I took from Baroness Gwendolyn. She was on the retinue. Next. Other people, if I didn't mention, are musicians that are important to have on retinue. And over here, it's to show mainly why, because they can add music to court, especially during the lull time when they've asked for somebody to approach the court and they're not there and they're way over there in the camp area. So while people are waiting, we have musicians to help fill the air with music. So the one on the left is from Thorne and Unharred's time. And I think that's somebody else's picture too. Somebody, probably Richard gave me that one. And the one on the right is Leif and Alessandra. That should be recognizable people for on-tier folks. And this was during Thorne and Dagmar's court, the one with Alessandra and Leif. Next. Other duties, of course, is the guards and feasts, to attend them at feasts. This picture, you can see the full, well, not quite, because the border of the tabard had gold, but that's what it looked like when you wore the green dresses or the green tunics for the guys and the black tabards. We trimmed it with gold and a wider gold band across like a Norse apron tabard thingy. I can't remember what feast this was. I don't know if it was the Grand Royal Feast at 3 year. I don't remember the room looking like that, but I was too busy singing. Next. This was a 30 year. This is to show the camp master. This is they're starting to set up camp at the Royal Encampment. So obviously somebody's trying to let them know where they can put their tents and kitchens, etc. The one on the right is, and I don't think it's all of it, but this was at the Grand Court at 30 year, and it was a stadium full of people with these big pavilions. The one, the yellow and white should be obvious, that's on tier, and that's the royals that showed up and their retinue. And the only thing I remember from that court is sitting, being grateful to be able to sit on a pew in the shade under that thing.
So we have a very good question here.
Mhm.
So they said, I apologize for the obvious question, but I think it's an excellent question. So no need to apologize, Sasha. How is one chosen for retinue and on what criteria?
Sometimes they're chosen, sometimes you can volunteer. Um, there, and I can only tell you by my experience. Um, if usually sometimes it's their friends, so it's almost automatic, or they're part of a household they belong to, so it's almost automatic that they will be on the retinue of this person. Others, it's like what happened on my first time on royal retinue, that is, was because I had done some stints in baronial retinue, and the Queen Sinead had asked the, I don't know if she asked both of them, David or Sansia, but she asked the advice of their excellencies in Blomere, because Sinead was from Blomere as well, by the way. And Sansia had given her some names. Or you can volunteer, like I volunteered for, not the first time in Caid, but the second time. There's this couple that I absolutely love, William and Desira. They are the best couple of majesties here in Caid. And when it occurred to me to serve them, I volunteered too late, but I still ended up doing some work for them just because I wanted to serve them. So I made little tokens and largesse stuff for them. But so you don't have to, even if you don't get onto retinue, you can go ahead if you really want to do service to them. You can go ahead and make things and.
So
Volunteer.
can I put can I add a couple things?
Of course you
As
are.
we His Excellency Alistair and I just stepped up as the Baron and Baroness in Glamere, and for us, and I know for a lot of people, the way that the way that we think it's really important, and I think this is the same with a lot of people. It's a really great way to introduce people into the SCA. If you're
Yeah.
just starting out,
Yeah.
check with talk to a few people in the barony or in the kingdom, um, and ask them, I'm interested in being on Retinue. How would I do that?
Yeah.
A couple of people who would be good to check with, if you check on, say, the baronial websites or the kingdom websites, a lot of times there'll be a list of the kind of heads of retinue. So if you check
Hmm.
with the head of retinue for the barony or the kingdom, if you check with the head attendant or the head guard or the head lady in waiting, depending on
Right.
the terms that are being used, and say, hey, I'm interested in being on retinue, and the odds are incredibly high that you will be enthusiastically welcomed into the retinue. So
Yeah.
those are really, and so it was asked also, what if you've never served? It's totally fine.
Yeah. And in fact,
Totally fine.
here's uh, a suggestion that, I mean, it's wonderful if you're new and already you want to do some service. It is one of the best ways to learn about how things work in the SCA. It's wonderfully um, open-hearted for you to do. And so, like you said, speak to the heads, and also don't think that the people who you're going to be serving will expect you to know everything right away, or for you to do all the services right away. They'll understand to just give it to you in small bites as you learn and gain experience, and don't worry about it if you make mistakes or you're too timid about it because you're unsure about what the job description is or all that. People will understand. Rely on the fellow retinue people to help you. If there's an event, because there's going to be a lot of traveling you're going to do. I mean, in the days when we used to do the traveling, if you don't have a car, or it's you don't uh, you're not able to afford maybe the trip, or even let's say like 12th night, which happens at hotels. um, don't worry. Carpool with people, that will lessen the expense. Room Share a room with people that hopefully by then you know them well enough to trust them, and that will help you. They'll find a way to help you. Don't worry.
So there's another really great question. Should you let the person you're serving know it's your first time?
Yeah. But I think more likely the person that you told or you asked advice to, like the chief aide in waiting or whoever, they might sort of whisper and let them know that. But um, I mean, if you're comfortable with them, I suppose. But don't worry about it. As long as somebody in the right knows.
So Katrine asked, well, she said this, and this is actually very similar in Ontir. I don't know about Kaid or anywhere else, but in the Middle Kingdom, we have a system where people can sign up for an hour or 2-hour shifts for guard duty, retaining, and other simple duties. Some use online sign up lists. Some have sign up at um,
Mhm.
the registration table.
Yeah, there's both that happens, because that is what happened in Kaid. Of course, in the old days we did it, the old-fashioned way. But yeah, it's usually either usually the head person will set up a online Excel sheet or something, and prior to the events or prior to the step-ups, there will be sign-up sheets for each event, and usually 1 hour, uh, 2 hours. It could be as much as you want, but usually 1 hour or 2 hours, either for court or for field, or to attend them while walking in Merchants Row or whatever. Oh, while I'm here, I need to say that quite often, because they're busy going to meetings and things, people want to talk to them, and so the minute they see them, they say, "Oh, I need to talk to them," and they'll go up and they'll, they'll interrupt them while they're on their way to the bathroom or to have some downtime. And the most diplomatic way to do it is to just whisper, but enough for the person who's talking to them to hear you say, Your Majesty, remember, you have that meeting such and such, and you got 7 minutes to make it. So that would be, that gives them the graceful way to inform this person, hey, by the way, I got to go to a meeting now. Just a little advice. Okay, next.
Super important advice.
Yes. What's next? Oh, okay. So this one on the left was a 30-year grand court. Sometimes the procession doesn't just mean you're going to walk behind them to court. Sometimes they their majesties or baron and baroness, whoever, is going to process with a horse. So just be aware that you might be walking next to horses at court. Just a little reminder. This on the right is work party. Work parties is a very important thing, not just because prior to them stepping up, you have to make all this garb. Like the reason why all of us in the retinue of Sinead and Thorn, we have matching greens is because we have bolts of fabric of the same fabric, so the color is coordinated. But yeah, you're going to be making all those baldricks for the retinue, all sorts of things. But it's also a way to bond with each other if you're friends or acquaintances, or if you don't know each other, it's a way to get to know each other. Because the better you know each other and the more you are bonded, the smoother you're going to run. Your work is going to run. You know, the better and the smoother you do that, the better you can serve them. This was, I think, Dagmar and Thorns. Yeah, because it was at their place. Next. On the left is my late friend Celia, and down there with the redhead is Dagmar. This was down in Sonagua, Sacramento area. It was prior to them stepping down, and we're organizing the largesse. So that's still part of that work party thing. The one on the right, which is one of my favorites of Thorn, this just to illustrate downtime. You know, it's very important to have time for them to take a break, not just take a nap, but just to take a break to just relax and maybe vent if there's some things they need to vent, or you know, just to be themselves for once. Next.
Sorry, there was a really great point here. So Michelle said, I wish there was a way to get retinue experience remotely. And I told her, well, there are some ways, right? I'm sure there are some ways to do some retinue remotely. Do you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. There things like physical things, certainly, like things like thank you notes or largesse, because people nowadays are dropping off gifts at door, by the door, side of the door, and things like that. So things like that are still happening. So you can go ahead, participate in helping with the thank you notes and or help with largesse to be given as prizes or thank you gifts or whatever. So that part, physical part of it can be done. Or online, you can help with, for instance, court. When there's online court or meetings, or like Lisa's doing here, coordinate classes, because sometimes these guys teach classes. You know, remember what I said the first thing, which was you serve so that they can serve. So what they might have new needs now that weren't mentioned and weren't thought of before, because we're relying so much on online. So I would just say check with them or check with the heads. Basically, more importantly, check with the heads about, hey, what needs to be done, and see what you can do. You're able to do. Volunteer.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was unmuted and I wasn't. So is there ever a list of largesse that's needed?
Quite often they will just, if there is a call out for largesse, the person I didn't mention, but they might also have somebody who's strictly a largesse coordinator or it would be one of the ladies in waiting. That could be one of their duties too, but often it is just a largesse coordinator, and so that's the person you check with. Otherwise, again, that might be under the auspice of the ladies in waiting. So the head lady, I would say, is the person, and they will have a list themselves. It would be things that are just, like generic. If it's edible things, you need to check with the head retinue what are they allergic to, or what are the things they like or don't like. If it's even things like perfume, some people cannot take perfume. So, or soaps. Just think about, what people could be allergic to or just don't prefer. Just if there's something you want to do and isn't on that list, just check with the head people and seek their advice. This is, again, downtime and lunch. Another important thing that's a bonding experience is being able to dine together. And this is during Agmer and Oren's time, I think. Yeah. But it's just, you get to sit down and talk to each other, get to know each other if you don't, or you can also have informal kind of meeting of, hey, can you make it at more, blah, 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 just relaxing time and bonding time. Next. This was used so I can make this point of quite often while you're at court, serving at court, somebody will come and whisper to you, hey, can you give them this message? The best time to interrupt them or to give them that message is probably in between business, because if somebody's getting an award and you're whispering something to them, they're going to get so distracted. It's just not going to work. In this picture, it looks like Baroness Gwendolyn is just making an announcement. So there's Sir John Wolston just whispering, or actually it looks more like he's giving her a cup of water, or gonna get the cup of water actually. And that looks like the Queen of Caid, and I have no idea who that is, because that was before I moved to Caid. And that's the last picture, I think. Oh, there's a Dora right next to Gwendolyn. Yay. Okay, that's it for the pictures. We can open it up to questions now.
Does anybody have any additional questions? I'm going to stop the share here.
And also, if you have any stories of your experiences, please.
Yeah, if you have stories that you want to share that aren't questions, if you have like a short story that you want to share about Retinue, go ahead and send a message on the chat or raise your hand, and I'll unmute you so that you can do that.
But thus ends the formal part of the way.
One second. We've got to give people a minute. A lot of times there's a little bit of a delay. So
I don't know if there's anything else I forgot.
no, I don't think so. I think that the one thing that I would probably maybe reinforce a little bit, because you did bring it up, but is the things that you hear while you're serving on Retinue. You may hear that somebody's getting an award. You may hear that something is.
And quite often, what will happen is it's only the head that will know something, and so those things cannot go beyond the circle of the head's retinue. But quite often, if it is like a friend getting an award, oh, this is strictly from my experience. I couldn't help myself early on when I was doing baronial retinue stuff. I would check at what the herald has at the next order, and it's my friend getting an award, and I'll immediately then look at the friend. And now if my friend has been watching me and they just saw me do that, they sort of are getting a clue that, uh-oh, I think they're gonna call my name. So don't do that.
And there can be hard things too that you can hear.
Oh, yeah, they will be, because it's just, stuff happens, politics happen, or administrative kind of stuff that needs to be taken care of. Oh, crap happens.
Mhm.
So yeah, but it helps. You can be their outlet for that. That's why they have advisors as well. For quite often, the royal ones are mostly people who had reigned as crown or were baron and baronesses, or it's like their friend and they just want to hang out with them, but they made them advisor.
So Tamsin asked, what is your favorite item of largesse you have seen or received?
Hmm, I would say there's quite, and it has to, for me, it would be something that somebody made, and it could be something else. Let me hang on, and I'll give you what, show you. This is a needle case. Norse, no,
That is adorable.
yeah, I've always wanted one, and that was one. The other one is like a squiggly wire thing, also Norse related, that I could put my beads on to then hang it on my brooch without having to use stress. But I have to figure out how to make the stranded beads first. But
So,
just handmade
go.
items mean the most, really.
So Leaf said, is it important to already be friends with or to know the people you offer to be retinue for, or can a person offer to be retinue for someone they do not already know?
Exactly. And hello, Pure Leaf, miss you. Yeah, yeah, you can. You don't have to. It's sort of related to if you're new as well. You know, it's the same sort of thing where it's no, you don't have to know the people that you would be serving, or even know. Geez, here in Caid, when I did my stint, I was still new enough. I didn't know comfortably enough people to be able to approach them to volunteer. But they had just put out publicly, hey, folks who want to serve on the retinue, please contact so and so. And that's what I said. Hey, this is a great way to find out about the awards and the customs of Caid. Serve on retinue. So I hardly knew anyone really. So yeah, it's not necessary. Just have a willingness to serve.
So Natasha says, you may be asked to do something or carry a message for things which are sensitive. You must be absolutely trustworthy.
Yeah, that's why that discretion thing comes in. If they can't trust you, if you're not discreet, that means they can't trust you. So it's useless. And so, yeah.
So Dawn said it can be nice if you're getting an award to get a heads up. Please be in court so people aren't busy doing other stuff. I didn't expect to win Kingdom Arts and Sciences as a relative newcomer, so it was appreciative to get a heads up. I don't think it's good to give someone a heads up if they're getting an award, however, I would say. But if it's somebody that you know that isn't
Well,
usually in court, maybe telling someone near them.
what you do is you kind of hint of, you kind of make sure, hey, will you be at court? And if they say no, you can kind of give them a white lie and say, hey, a friend of yours is going to get an award or something. You know, actually, before that last 12th night court I went to before moving to Caid, um, not only Dagmar, it seems to me other people said, are you going to be at court? Well, of course, I'm always going to be at court. I always am interested in attending court. But Dagmar said, hey, are you going to be at court? Somebody from Gomer is going to get an award or something. And I'm putting in my head thinking, oh, I wonder who it is. I bet you it's so-and-so. So I completely missed it when they called my name, and it was just a goodbye, surprise goodbye thing. People were going to give me gifts and the scroll to take back to Caid and say, she's our ambassador here. So, but I completely missed it because I didn't expect it to be me. But Dagmar kind of made sure I was there because she said, oh, a friend from your local area is going to get an award. So be there at 12th night court. So,
Did you get up there eventually?
well, I did because I was talking to Jane Messina, my apprentice, and she said, hey, they called your name. And I'm like, what the hell? And then they called all those who are friends and family to come up to approach, and there's like apparently a crowd behind me, and but I'm like crying, and Inga made the scrolls, you know, Gwen the Potter made the pilgrim's flask with the laurel and the lion on it, and it was hand card woven laurel, and it made a card woven strap for it. Dagmar collected, oh man, Dagmar collected these in these bottles all the elements of down here: earth, water, air, which was I think shells, or that was the sound. But most of them broke in the transportation from Washington to California, but the earth and water survived, and I have them with me up here in my room. I display them proudly
We all
with the
miss you
scroll.
here. We all miss you here very much.
Yeah.
Tamsin said, we had to tell Katrine that her husband was getting an award to get her out of the kitchen at Yule. All else fails, lie. That's super true. I've
Yes.
lied to get people into court. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts on inclusivity of children and people with mobility limitations like scooters on Retinue? How do you include them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's like it's a given. I mean, they and whatever they want to volunteer to do, if they feel they can do it. And like I said, like there's a picture of me and Vito Trumbull, um, Mistress Flavia, down here in Caid. We're sitting there and making these favors for the Queen that she gives out to arts and sciences stuff and all that. You know, Vito Trimble, she's the lady, she's known for saving Star Trek. She's, you know, in her 80s. And me, I can't stand very long on court, more than 30 minutes. So I wasn't officially on Retinue anyway. You know, we're just sitting there making these favors. You can do it. There's always something you can do as long as you are willing to do service. They will appreciate it. If it's an outdoor event, and because I know it's uneven and stuff, hopefully the stewards have thought about things like parking, special parking areas, but also rely on your fellow retinue members for if there's some difficulty that you find on certain things, like for hearing impaired, anything anything that you think is a challenge, just bring it up. It could be something they never thought of, but it shouldn't be an issue
Yeah,
by
I would
now.
say I've been on Retinue for crowns that at the beginning they make a point of saying if you can't stand for an extended period of time and you're on Retinue, just let us know you need to sit down or just sit down. It's okay. You know, we're not going to be upset about that.
Right.
You know, you have to take care of yourself above anything else. You
Yep.
can't be Retinue if you're not okay, right? So that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
actually, so somebody had brought this up right after this is totally applicable. Um, where where to go? Wear practical shoes. Some crowns move very quickly,
Yep.
and some grass is very slippery too. That's
And
another
that's
thing.
what I meant by when I said, I don't know if I said wear comfortable clothes, but that's what I meant, all the way from shoes to your clothes. You know, yeah. When we did stuff outside, I've sprained my ankle so many times it's like an issue with me. So I would walk with canes, and so with the processions and they're walking fast, I always have make sure I have an escort and I'm hanging on to them to help me walk and not trip. But I sprained the first no, not the first time I did sprain my ankle on service. But one of those times that I sprained my ankle was in service for it was during court actually, and it was wet grass, and I was trying to be quick but efficient, and you know, boom.
So another really good piece of advice here. Katrine says if you're behind the throne, people can see you. And also, I'm going to add people are also taking pictures. Be aware of that. Try to hide yawns, nose picking, etc. Don't touch your nose also if you're up there because it'll look like you're picking your nose.
Yep. There's just going to be when you're on Renew, there's just going to be things that you never thought about thinking of doing or not doing because you never had to deal with the fact that people might see you. Or and also I'm glad I thought about this, leading by example. Use their titles at all times, except for when you're at camp, obviously, or downtime with them. Your friend Bob is the king. Yeah, fine. But they know that if there's a message you need to get to them, if you say Your Majesty, trying to get their attention, they will pay attention because they know that, hey, if my friend here is using my title, that means this is business. So I will pay attention. So try to use the titles at all times, just in practice.
That's such great advice, especially if it's somebody that you know, and
Yeah,
because if there are people on Retinue that aren't close friends with them, but they see you calling them Your Majesty or Your Excellency, they're going to do the same.
yeah,
If you see them calling them by their first name, they're going to do the same.
yeah. And also, if you're a new person in the SCA or in Retinue, and there you are, and this is how you learn what we call, the titles in the SCA, by just listening and getting that hint.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, can you expand on the duties of royal guards on Retinue?
Okay. The guards, again, the two locations we're speaking. Um, for court, they are to well, because the first thing is they're to look pretty with their spears, but they're also to help escort people when they're called to court, whether they need that or not. Sometimes their majesties or the baron and baroness will ask for people to get escorted, and so that's part of their duty. Part of their other duties also is to haul things, to help set up things, or haul them back into the truck after the event is done. Like I mentioned earlier, the most important part for me is the guards at at camp, just to keep an eye at things. Or when they have meetings, sometimes they have peerage meetings at the Royal Pavilion, and it's important to have like a, a fence. I don't want to use that perimeter of guards around to just make sure no one overhears anything. Or like in another time. Thorn and Sinead's time was this? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, we went down to the summits. It became a new principality, and we went down, and right there after we woke up and had breakfast, we got up. There were at least one guard and a couple of ladies in waiting outside where their room, or their tent it would be. You sort of discreetly wait for them to wake up so that you can just get stuff going right away, or you keep people from interrupting them because they need their privacy, especially when there's meetings. They're like, no matter how shiny a hat a person has, and they're saying, but I gotta talk to them. It's no way, no way, unless they are specific. Like you can check inside and say, so and so is here. They want to talk to you, but no one passes through the guards when they're out there.
So, Dawn said, personally, we include our children to serve with us when we're on shift, when appropriate, and with their highness's permission. They love it. Generally, we don't have them attend with us during court.
Yeah, it all depends on the age as well, sometimes, but sometimes they become pages as well, can serve as that if you want to. It really is up to the kids and the parents. It's a nice thing to see.
Can you talk about the presence of the space around the royals?
As in outside or indoors, or what specifically space? Just anything general?
I think kind of in general, the kind of the space kind of created around them for,
Yeah.
um, for
So,
privacy and for, yeah.
right. So, one other than like I was mentioning about the peerage meetings happen at Pavilion itself, Pavilion. So if you like an event's going on and people are passing by and all of that, you create that physical perimeter to make sure no one comes too close to overhear things they shouldn't be hearing. It's also when they might have special audiences with people. The chief lady, maybe, or one of the ladies in waiting will have a list of people who want to speak to them at a certain event, and you can schedule those meetings to talk to them and have these audiences. Again, they'll probably be in that at the Royal Pavilion. So it's the same idea as the Royal Peerage meetings are going on and keeping guards away. But also, I think the downtime, which would happen at camp, the guards are important to be there to keep, again, people from interrupting. That downtime is very important. They need to, unplug themselves for a while so that they can re-energize and do their business.
Have a moment to breathe.
Right. And just take off the crown, which is physically too burdensome. Or to be with their kids,
Tamsin said, as far as guards, ladies in waiting, they also hold, this is an important one that we haven't actually talked about, they also hold the crowns or coronets when the wearer is in the bathroom.
Yep, absolutely.
Don't let them go into the bathroom with the coronet or crown on their head.
And also make sure when you're helping or unloading, or especially when you're helping loading, and before they leave, make sure they didn't put the coronet on top of the car. This has happened. Just saying. While you're saying goodbye to them, have a safe trip, drive carefully. Just make sure there's nothing on top of that car.
Because it may have happened in Gloomy.
Yes, because like I'm saying, they're so busy. They're thinking about all these things, and they maybe forgot. I'll just put the coronet up here. Oh, I got distracted with this and this, and then forgot. Okay, it's time to go. I need to go now, and they forgot they put that thing on top. Like I said, be their eyes and ears. That's what you do as a retinue.
It did create a little history on the coronet. It's got a little bump on it from coming off the car. That's all the questions I see right now. Does anybody else have any other questions?
Or stories. I want to hear stories.
If anybody wants to share a story, I can unmute them for a story as well. Just let me know.
Yeah, I want to hear stories.
Natasha says, being the eyes and ears of the Baron and Baroness doesn't have to just be at events either.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a given. Yeah. Because you're on retinue. When you're on retinue, that doesn't just mean at events you are retinue. It means you're on retinue all the time.
So, Deanne, are you saying that you have a short story? Okay, I'll unmute you. Just 1 second.
Are we able to do video so I can see this person? Or
Deanne, if you want to turn on your video, you can turn on your video as well.
I just want to do eye contact. If not, it's okay.
I don't think she's got video, but that's okay.
It's
so,
okay.
Deanne? Yeah, she can't do video.
Sorry.
So you are unmuted. Let's see if we can hear you. Hello? Oh, you don't have a mic. Okay, if you want to type in your story,
yeah,
I'll absolutely read it for you. We have another question while she's typing in the story. What kind of example must retinue set for others in the populace?
We mentioned the title thing, using titles. Try not to be such a jerk. Ideally, if you're a jerk before you join the SCA, somehow we teach you and you start to change that about you. But try not to be a jerk, try not to be crude. Anything that reflects badly upon them, it's a matter of honor issue.
Rhiannon says, review the virtues of chivalry.
And also, and courtesy. You're going to be dealing with people who are going to be asses. Yes, I use that word. If they come to you and they say, I want to talk to so and so, and you're trying, I'm sorry, you can't right now. Maybe you need to schedule that, but and they're being really bad about it. Like I did with that, interrupting them, saying you have 5 minutes to get to your meeting in that gracious way. You try to use a diplomatic way of saying that it's just too difficult to do that now. Sorry you feel that way, all that stuff. you know, just don't escalate the situation. Uh, and
I
just,
would say, sorry, go for it.
just, um, just be courteous. Just as the same things that we ask of you in the SCA, because it reflects on you as well, not just that you are serving. Go ahead, Excellency.
Okay. I would say be the one, even if you're not currently on the retinue, be the one to stand and bow when they come by.
Yeah,
Be the one to make sure that everyone around you is being quiet during court. And that is in front of court and behind court. Because behind court, if you are on retinue, a lot of times people are excited and they are talking and it gets really loud.
and that could
Um,
be another function of the guards, the ones who are furthest like away from the physically the court itself. They could can like ask people if they could just quiet down or take it in another area because they're being heard in court and business is happening now. So that could be added to that.
Very true. Very true. Natasha says, once all I had to do was show Her Majesty my watch without speaking to give her a reason to get away.
That's another thing I wanted to mention is the longer you spend time with them, the more you're going to learn their body language. Like the thing with the bathroom on their way to the bathroom, and this person is interrupting them. You're going to see that sign that says "Get me out of here" sign, or "Hey, I'm hungry" sign. You can see just by their face that they're starting to, you know, feel some need for some nourishment or something. So yeah, the more you know them and their body language, the better it is. And yeah,
I've got a thing to say, but I've got to mute for a second because I think my dog's about to freak out. So just one second. Or maybe I'll put it in real quick. I don't think he's going to bark yet. His Excellency just got home. Larry L says, speaking of guards, 2 sets of outland crowns that I made many years ago were stolen from the royal trailer at a kingdom event.
yep, that's why I said guards. Guards. It's an issue that over the years has become more of an issue. So yeah, if nothing else, have somebody in the retinue who's strictly in charge of just following where all that regalia is going or is when it's not being used. And the more the merrier is what I say about retinue. The more people we have, the more shifts we can have so not people don't get burned out. And if people who somehow thought, hey, it should be fun to be in retinue and then decided after being in retinue for a while that this isn't their bag, if you started with 100 and you ended up with 50, that's fine. That's still functional. You can still work. It's not a disaster.
Yeah, he's very excited that His Excellency's home. Um, uh, oh, here we go. I was nervous checking for tokens at my second event. I had several give me a hard time and had started looking at the face second. I ended up stopping Queen Margarita of the North Kingdom. I almost died. She was so gracious, thanked me for my service, and told me I did a great job. I walked on air for hours after that. In that moment, I remembered no matter the shiny hat, they are human.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it's it's advice I give to people, whether they have shiny hats or not. Everybody treat each other as equals, and just that little, even a smile will make a total difference for the rest of the day.
She says of the East Kingdom. Sorry, not the North Kingdom. which does make more sense.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions or things they'd like to share? This has been a really interactive class. It's kind of awesome.
Cool. I didn't really want it to be a lecture thing, you know. And if you have other questions when we're done and or speak about your experiences, you know, I'm on Facebook. I'm in the Gourmet Populous Facebook group. I'm in the Ontier group. I'm in the Kaid, Kaid Facebook, and I'm Angels here, Barony of Angels, down here in Kaid. So yes, you can contact
Natasha
me
says
one way.
she always enjoyed being on Retinue with you.
Ah,
So Barbara says, I love the idea of matching bags for the retinue to wear. So handy to haul around bottles of water, fans,
yep,
etc. So why don't we talk for just a second about what can be and what should be in the retinue bags?
for sure water, whether you're indoors or outdoors, for sure water, and also fans, whether you're indoor or outdoor. Sunscreen, outdoor, not necessarily for indoor. Um, and it's like a power, like protein bar or something. And think about it as survival kit for them as well as for you, because if you faint, it's not helping anybody. So if you have a small enough umbrella and it's a big enough bag, you could put that in there for shade for when you're outside. A notebook, like I said, little notebook, just to write things down when people give them gifts or just awards or who knows what, just a handy thing to have around. Um, Something to work on. If you're somehow handy with your hands knitting or spinning or whatever, or it's their project, they might have a small project they work on that could be put in there so it could be carried around. Because what would happen is quite often they'll go off into Merchants Row and you're following them there, and then they'll go stop at the Barony of Lemaire's pavilion to chat with the Baroness. So you could be attending them there, and they'll need some water, or they need to be fanned, or they might have a little gift that they're gonna give to them, and you can have it there with them, and or they could sit and chat if it's going to be a long chat with the Baroness of Lemaire. They can sit and work on their project.
That's true. I'm a little chatty, just slightly chatty. Me, yeah. So a few other things that people added: band-aids, safety pins
Oh
for
yeah.
guard malfunctions or anything.
Oh yeah.
An event copy, a watch because people don't carry watches very much anymore. A sewing kit for emergency repairs,
Right.
medication, so prescription and
Oh
just
yeah.
some Tylenol or something in there for headaches. That kind of thing is really important too.
And also it's a not just for the populace to know, for like largesse is what I was talking about earlier, but also for you, the retinue needs to know their allergies and their specific medical issues so that you can have like a protein bar there if there's sugar, if they're having a sugar thing going on, or like you said, the medication and stuff. It's just you're taking care of people basically, and that could be a whole range of different items.
Absolutely. So another one, small secure bags for jewelry fails. Um, yeah, I also add some tiger tail and some crimp beads and stuff for fixing jewelry fails. Another thing that I add that I like to add is some emergency like tokens, like thank you
Oh
tokens, that
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
thing
yeah,
that they can grab and give
yeah.
to people.
That would be sometimes like some of the largest items sometimes are big, but most of the largest items are these small, like the beaded tokens, or the stuff I make is these stuffed animal things, um, or knitting bags. So yeah, it's it's a good idea.
Brianna also brought up rain coins. That's a good one to have in there too. Yeah,
Yeah, that's part of the token thing. Yeah.
yeah. Natasha says this is good advice for everyone, retinue or coronet or crown, remember to turn your phone to vibrate if you must carry it along.
Yeah. So that was an issue for me at all for all the years that I did retinue until cell phones came in. You know, so yeah, that's a new thing to think about. Yeah. Good. Good job, Natasha.
Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
one.
It's
Um,
something I didn't have to think about because I'm just thinking in the past of all the stuff that I did in writing and baronial and oil, but it didn't become an issue as much as
it's
Dagmar
definitely,
and
yeah, it's definitely changed things.
yeah.
So assisting retinue is a great way to get recognition. You get to meet people you might never have met before. It helps with coronet and peer fear as well.
And it's so very important for the retinue members themselves because, like I said, they're not. But when I think Dame Zenobia did said that during my laurel ceremony. Um, the it's not just about drinks and food, making sure that you get drinking food, but it could be other just to replace you. Sometimes if it's a skeleton retinue people, which is why I was doing guard duty that time, and you need to change your shift, you need some rest, you need to have a break, you can ask your friend to uh, sort of become an unofficial member of the retinue. This happens quite often. I think I did that with Maeve as well. Uh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and the other thing is crowns who aren't from the local area,
Oh,
their
yeah.
retinue may not, they may not have retinue here. You
Yeah.
may end up, you can become stunt retinue, right?
Yep. Yeah.
On-site retinue for people who are from out of the kingdom that you're in
Yeah.
even.
I think I mentioned that in my article too. Well, anyway, I'm pretty sure I put in the stuff happens or retinue happens, or I don't know what I called it. But yeah, quite often if there's dignitaries from other kingdoms or even out of your local area visiting, um, and they're going to be participating in court or even in the feast or something, you might be asked to be retinue for them. By all means, expect the unexpected if I haven't told you yet.
Deanne mentioned another thing that's really important that we haven't said is something mentioned in another class recently was carrying mints or cough drops during court for those who might need it.
Oh yeah, I forgot to put that in there. That's very important. And Kleenex, I forgot to put Kleenex in there because court could get emotional because a friend is getting an award, or uh, some even when they're off of the stage, if you will, they're having downtime, break time, and something could get emotional and they're crying, and just you can have a handy dandy. That's another thing that's going to be in that bag is Kleenex that needs to be in there. But yeah, and cough drops, forgot that. Yeah, I never leave an event without having enough cough drops. I mean, mundanely as well as SCA. Forgot that. Damn, I better
It's
put that
so
in.
important. Yeah.
And yeah.
Good call, Deanne. That was excellent. um, the other one, oh shoot, I had it in my brain. Where was it? Where'd it go? Um, I'll see if I can. Oh, thank you, Your Excellency, Alistair, who's now in the living room here commenting on things for me. So another great thing, so it was asked like things that you can do as far as retinue goes. This was something they did in Dragon's Mist a few B&Bs back that I thought was a really great idea, and it would be probably a really great thing, to do for largesse is doing um, doing handkerchiefs. So
Oh
doing
yeah.
handkerchiefs, and you can do a little monogram of
Yeah.
their excellencies or their majesties or their highnesses initials or something
Yeah.
on them, and they can give them to people in court, which is
Yeah.
a
I
really cool thing.
I did that even as early on as because I did it with Thorn's thingy, the 3-arm thingy. But yeah, that's a great idea also. And Baron David, the late and wonderful Baron David, our second Baron in Glamere. That's what he did a lot for largesse.
A small mirror for makeup repairs, also a good one to have.
And lip balm. Let's write that before I forget. That's a good one too. That's a good survival kit thing. Lip balm. basically use yourself as a barometer. What is it you normally pack or put in your bag or basket when you walk around at events and that you think is essential? And it's going to be just as useful for them.
Tamsin, this is a great one for especially for the new climate we're going to come into once we can be in-person events again. Hand sanitizer.
Yeah, yeah. And handy wipes. I do that as part of my feast packing, just because um, they might, I can just get something, I'm eating something sticky and I want to deal with it right away, then go to the, you know, bathroom sink because it's crowded with people, or even outdoors, they might not have sinks there. So handy wipes.
Yeah, Rhiannon said that as well. Unscented baby wipes. And Beth says sharing lip balm probably shouldn't be happening for a bit. Yeah, don't share lip
Yeah,
balm. It should be probably their excellencies or their
yes.
majesties lip balm
Yep. Yeah.
themselves, and bring your own.
Yep.
Don't
Yep.
don't don't use communal lip balm.
Yeah. Or brush or whatever. It should be theirs, not yours.
That's another really good thing, actually. Bobby pins and hair ties and
So
things
that goes
for
along with the
fixing.
safety pin thing,
Yeah.
you know, put yourself a little kit and you put, this emergency sewing kit with safety pins, bobby pins, band-aids. But the band-aids could go into another little box that you put lip balm in. That way, that's the medical stuff and that's the cosmetic stuff.
Rhiannon, that's a good idea. Write on the lip balm the owner's name. Yes, that is a very good idea.
It's, it's stuff that we never thought about before COVID.
Exactly. You might actually, I mean, for the beginning kind of here of when we can see each other again, a couple extra masks in the in the bag isn't a bad idea probably to have too.
And also, I'm thinking for quite often, like I served queens and baronesses that were dancers. So during the day, we're all wearing the garb we're going to wear during the day, and then we're going to change it to nighttime stuff. Put a flashlight in your, although now you have a cell phone that can be flash. What am I saying? But before, it used to be a flashlight in the bag. But never mind, we have cell phones
But
now.
to go with that, instead of a flashlight, how about a phone charger like the battery packs?
Yeah, mine doesn't work on any of those remote battery pack thingies. It works on my sister's phone, but it didn't. We've tried it because over here in Kaid, things are so spread out, and so like an entire event, I would run out of juice, just to even get there because I'm not familiar as I am with the locations in Washington State. So I need uh, Google Map or whatever to help me get there. And just that is using up juice, let alone having it at the events. And the only solution is to use the battery recharger thing, and it just didn't work on mine. So I just turn it off, and then when it's court, I'll turn on my phone just to take pictures so that I
Um,
can have enough batteries to get back.
so His Excellency Alistair brought up a really good point. So this is ideas of things to have in retinue bags. This is not like a comprehensive list. So also be sure that the bag is not too heavy. That's pretty important because you're going to be carrying it around, and it's going to
Yeah.
get uncomfortable
And
if
if
you've
it's
got
just you,
too much.
sometimes if you have a couple of people, of retinue people with you, then it's not just you carrying everything in that bag. But yeah, just the essentials for medical emergency and comfort in there, and costume memory. Yeah,
And
but
these are
not.
generally going to be things that are already in the bag. These aren't going to be things that you're not going to kind of put together your own bag for when you're just on retinue.
Yeah,
So, you know, um, you know, don't think that you have to have your own kind of kit for when you are, doing a retinue shift.
right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Tamsin did say a cheap flashlight is still a good idea. If you drop $1 flashlight in a puddle or biffy, it's much less of an issue than your phone.
Yeah, you need it for the biffy. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Natasha says the bags generally pass from one person to the next on shift. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is there any other comments or questions that you have? Give it another couple seconds here. Oh, let's see. Yeah, that's true. Also, if you're working as a social media officer or Stardust person, phones might be low battery by the time night rolls around. That's very true. Yeah, I know mine is. I take so many pictures and stuff. It's yeah,
Yeah, that's another new thing, new function on Retinue that we
yeah,
didn't deal with before.
yeah. All right, I think that's all the questions. I think that's all the questions we have.
Okay,
Thank you so much for teaching today. This has been really great.
sure. This is what I needed when I first did the Retinue thing, and I kept saying, why isn't there a guide to help me? I don't know how to figure this out, and that's what inspired this whole art thing, the article on it. So I'm sure other people are thinking that. So I'm glad. Thanks for attending, you guys.